Hi, everyone, and welcome to our How To series at ESG. I'm Mike Zahller, and I am a program manager with ESG. As a primary function of my role, I spend most of my days working with customer success leaders just like you, helping them go from where they are today to where they want to be tomorrow. To help our clients achieve their customer success goals, we utilize a minimum viable product, or MVP, program management methodology. This brings me to the topic of today's discussion: how to apply the MVP to your CS initiatives. Before diving into the how of the MVP, let's first take a quick look at what a CS MVP is. In traditional MVP approaches, the focus tends to be on developing a software program or an application with the minimum functionality needed so that customers can begin experiencing what has been produced. Customer experience then provides feedback which can be used to determine the viability of the program or app. With a customer success MVP, what is being produced is the minimum functionality needed to deliver a customer success experience for your end users. That experience is then operationalized and delivered, with customer feedback being collected, all while you and your team are working on your next MVP cycle. In this regard, the CS MVP is very agile and can quickly pivot based on your business's needs. Now that we know what a CS MVP is, let's dive into how to apply the CS MVP to your CS initiatives. There are 4 overall phases that make up the MVP process: discover, design, develop, and deliver. In the discover phase, you'll want to focus on drafting your MVP charter, which describes the objectives of your MVP, outlines how it will be carried out, identifies stakeholders involved, and specifies a time frame of delivery. You'll also want to focus on building your core team and aligning on the high-level customer journey map you and your core team will be working towards creating as part of your MVP. You'll want to focus on identifying the user stories applicable to each phase of that high-level journey map and determining which of these user stories are necessary to make each phase of the journey viable and can be completed with the resources and timeline you are working with. The user stories that aren't or cannot be completed go into a backlog to be taken up during subsequent MVPs. For the user stories that are necessary and can be completed, you'll want to divide these user stories into groups, or epics, based on commonality. An epic in Agile terminology is simply a big chunk of work that has a common objective. These epics then make up the major areas of focus for your MVP. And with these items covered, you're now ready to move into the design phase. In the design phase, you'll want to focus on identifying a single owner for each epic and the team members who will make up each epic team. Once epic teams have been formed, each epic team meets to further refine their respective epics by doing the following: determining the people, processes, and technology associated with each user story for that epic, listing out every deliverable which will need to be produced in order to operationalize each user story, identifying the owners for each deliverable and the timeline with which each deliverable will be produced, and then finally writing an epic outline summarizing the deliverables, owners, and timeline. With these epic outlines in hand, the program manager can then build the MVP program. And with the MVP program established, you're now ready to move into the develop phase. You'll want to run your develop phase, over roughly a 9-week period. This allows for faster time to market, which generates customer feedback more quickly, and if you've done things correctly, allows your customers to benefit from the journey and experience you and your MVP team have created sooner. The 9-week develop phase breaks down as follows. The first 4 weeks make up Release 1. Within Release 1, there are 2 sprints, with each sprint lasting 2 weeks. Week 5 is targeted at ensuring agility. So if your business needs or strategies change, you can incorporate these changes into Release 2. The last 4 weeks make up Release 2, with 2 sprints being run, each sprint lasting 2 weeks. Throughout the develop phase, you will be conducting meetings to check in on the status each epic team is making with their respective deliverables, addressing any issues that arise, and making modifications where needed. You'll also be conducting meetings to provide updates to leadership on the status of the MVP program. Once the develop phase has been completed, you are now ready to move into the deliver phase. In the deliver phase, you'll want to focus on a couple of things. Number one, finalizing all documentation associated with all of the deliverables. Number two, creating a final MVP presentation deck which showcases the work completed. And number three, presenting the final MVP deck to applicable leadership stakeholders, securing approval to move forward with operationalizing the journey and experience you and your MVP team have created. With approval in hand, you are now ready to operationalize your MVP, which means you'll need to focus on integrating new capabilities that you had developed into existing workflows, providing training to key team members who will be responsible for delivering the journey and experience to your customers, and collecting feedback from applicable stakeholders, especially customers, as you roll out your MVP deliverables. Simultaneously with operationalizing your MVP, you'll want to revisit the user story backlog list that you had created back in the discover phase. These backlogged user stories will now become the user stories you may potentially be able to focus on for your next MVP cycle. Likewise, feedback from applicable stakeholders, again, especially customers, and or new budget monies can be leveraged to create additional user stories for you to focus on as well. So there you have it. I know we covered a lot here, but hopefully you now have the information you need to apply the MVP to your CS initiatives. On that note, please reach out to us if we can help, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more premium content. Again, I'm Mike Zahller, Program Manager for ESG, and I thank you for joining us today.